Last week in the Sprint Series at Talladega Superspeedway, we saw a driver flip and a dominant performance by Marcus Glitch, who has now won at Talladega and New Smyrna, and also has 2 starts on the year. But here tonight, not only are we racing at Armory Digital Superspeedway on a Tuesday night, but we are also kicking off the 2025 Herr Sprint Series Dash for Cash. Next 3 races, all fictional racetracks, and at the end of Hillside, someone will win some money. It is race number 14 of the season, and it is the Armory Digital 250 here at Armory Digital Superspeedway. Hello everyone, it is Nathan Sapien here, and welcome to Armory Digital Superspeedway, and welcome to race number 1 of the Dash for Cash. The next 3 weeks we will be doing a mid-season tournament, if you can say that, and it all starts off here tonight. The top 10 finishers will qualify for Oregon next week, and then the top 4 finishers from Oregon will move on to Hillside, and then the winner of those 4, the highest finisher out of those 4, will win the Dash for Cash, but you have to sign up each week in order to be eligible. So we'll see on who ends up being the Dash for Cash victory, and we'll end up seeing if anyone can stop Alexander Rowe still in the Sprint Series, as he's been dominant so far. We got Travis Scranton up here in the booth here tonight, and welcome to Armory Digital Superspeedway.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here in Seattle, and time to go for another Super Speedway race. And it's been a while since I've been to this track, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, it's been a long time, if not the first time I've ever done a race here at Armory Digital, but it's one of the best fictional super speedways out there, and it's gonna be a fun one here tonight. 24 laps for the Armory Digital 250, and it's been the Alexander Rowe show so far in the Sprint Series, and even last week he got a top 5 finish, I believe, at Talladega. So even in Super Speedways, he's been very strong, and same with Daytona as well. So knowing that, what does the field need to do here tonight to maybe somehow close in on Alexander Rowe here tonight?
Yeah, with Alexander Rowe being in the 81 for Draconin, going to be interested to see what he can do. And for the field, they just have to get a good race. I mean, this is Armory Digital. Obviously, it's a super speedway, so it's going to be a glorified crapshoot to see who's going to win the race. You're going to see 3, 4 wide, and it's going to be a regular super speedway race, and just like we saw last week at Talladega. Just got to watch out for getting into the wall, and you got to watch out obviously for the squeeze. That's all obviously the 2 main issues you got to watch out for. And for the drivers that have to catch up to Alexander Rowe, they just got to avoid the wrecks, stay up front, and be at the front for a chance to win.
And they also got to hope that Alexander Rowe gets involved in something here tonight, and we'll see what ends up happening. Speaking of Alexander Rowe, he has a 22-point lead over both B.B. Ruiz and Matt Black in the championship. And then 4th in points is Harley Anderson Jr., 45 points behind. It's absolutely crazy low Alexander Rowe has been up to this point. J.O. Littleton is in 5th, minus 47. Andrew Williams is in 6th, minus 48. And Abel is in 7th, minus 49. Chase McClure is in 8th, minus 52. Carson Miller is in 9th, minus 59. And the running at the top 10 in points is Campbell Mosher, who's been falling as of late. Was top 5 in points earlier, but has fallen the last few races, trying to make a comeback. But only 6th in the point standings, 66 points behind. Here tonight, it's going to be kind of like Talladega, where I don't think starting position is really going to matter here, but we'll see if what ends up happening. Is number 4 of Andrew Williams trying to get a 2nd win on the season, and he's on the pole in a long time. It's the car that flipped wildly last week when Nathan Fane was behind the wheel, and that is the 99 of Corey Case. So once again, we got one of the 2 drivers in the field in The 02 of Nathan Aljaboye and the 69 of Matt Blatt filled in points. The 88 of Sammy Camara and the 97 of Trey Smith. The other driver for Triad, the 05 of Bray Anson, and the 56 of Alexa Selspin, the 82 of Carson Miller, and the 81, the point leader of Alexander Lowe, the 64 of Chris Reynolds, and the 39 of Campbell Marsh, the 96 of Hal Anderson Jr., and the 98 of Gerald Littleton, the 37 of Aaron Abel, and the 57 of BP Ruiz, the number 50 of Chase McClure, and the 52 of Dylan Sandeven. The number 9 of Matthew Hall is back this week. And then the number 13 of Garrett Zendoska has returned. The number 93 of this week is James Bird, once again, has returned. The 87, Joshua Neely, has returned. The number 1, Vinny Shows, has returned. And then right at the field in the number 3 is Semi Oskin's development driver, who raced himself last week. This week has Dylan Epicmean in the number 3. And that is it. 24 drivers, 24 laps here at the Armory Digital Superspeedway. And this track is wild. It's one of the craziest superspeedways. It's arguably the best fictional superspeedway on NR. And it's going to be a fun night of action on a track that I've very rarely ever done on NR. A unique pit wall that's it here. And we'll see what ends up happening at this very unique racetrack for the Herr Sprint Series. I'm going to put you on the spot, Travis. Good luck with this one, but who do you think will win the Armory Digital 250?
Well, this driver only has 4 starts in this series, but has had 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. I'm going to pick that 56 of Alexis Selspin to go to victory lane here at Armory Digital.
Not bad pit. Selspin kind of popped in during the middle part of the season up to this point, and really kind of towards the late part, but Matt's driver there, and we'll see if Alexis Selspin can get the job done, and we'll see if anyone can beat Alexander Lowe. If Alexander Lowe wins, that will be his 5th win in 14 races in an equal reign series. That would be something, but 24 laps on tap here tonight, and one thing I will say, that if there's any comparisons between Armory Digital and Talladega, and there are not many, but it is the start finish line. It is down towards turn 1 and 2, just like Talladega, so that could play into a massive role here tonight. But basically, I would dive down onto pit road, and then that will lead in the field in the hands of Andrew Williams and Corey Case. Race 1 of the Dash for Cash, 24 laps on tap, and at the end of the night, the top 10, as long as they sign up tomorrow for Oregon next week, will compete in round 2 of the Dash for Cash. It is race 14 of the season, and it is the Armory Digital 250 at Armory Digital Superspeedway. And lap 1 of the Armory Digital 250 is going to be led by the number 88 of Sammy Camara. And the 2 Triad teammates are right behind him. Here comes the 05 on the inside of Bray Anderson. And one thing we have to keep an eye out for is exactly what Travis said, the squeeze off of turn number 1 and into the little short chute. Could be a factor all night long if we go for a while, but a lot of 2 and 3 wide early on, and here comes the 50 of Chase McClure, but his teammate is going to move down to the inside all the way on the double blue line here at Armory.
And we are 4 wide in the middle of the group of the pack. That's going to be a little bit dangerous, but Corey Case able to get back down to the bottom, and that 90 of James or not James Bird, Matthew Hall is going to take the lead. Now here comes the 13 of Garrett Zandowska.
Welcome back, Aaron Sandowska. You know, he was in the series for most of the season up to this point. He's missed a few races, but he has done 10 out of the 13 and now 11 out of 14. Then he shows many summers, and we're going to see this all night long. Just cycle racing galore, and this is absolutely chaotic. 3 and 4
Oh,
wide.
man.
The 96 and 97 might have to watch out here entering turn number 1.
Obviously, a little bit different here in 3 and 4, one continuous turn, but like you said, turns 1 and 2 is kind of like Indianapolis with that short shoot, just extremely more banked. And you're seeing this right here. You got to watch out in turn 1. Oh man, this 52 possibly taking it 5 wide, but thinks better of it. And looks like we may keep it clean here. Oh man, so tight right there. But these guys know what they're doing, and they keep it together, and no contact was made.
Great job from these two so far, but they are not happy with each other. There's plenty of space down there, Trey Smith. You don't have to do this, but he's gonna do it anyway. The 4 wide up ahead almost. Campbell Mosh making some moves. And here comes the 57 of BB Ruiz. That's been his main color. He's either been in the 57 or the occasional 56 appearance. And oh my goodness, this is chaotic stuff, and it's going to be interesting if these guys can keep it straight for all 24 laps here tonight. You mentioned that a lot of these drivers have competed in a lot of races this year, so that is the bright side. They know how these cars handle. But how about Campbell Mosh? Out front, actually, sorry, maybe I have 2 cars tandem with Campbell Mosh and BB Ruiz.
Yeah, absolutely. And Campbell Marsh already has a win this season and has had a pretty solid season, 10th in points with 5 top 10s. So trying to continue that here today at Armory Digital, but that's going to be hard to do. Just the fact, like you said, it's a cycle race, so you know it's all about timing and where you put your car, where you put yourself in those last 5, last 2, heck, even last lap, depending on how crazy it gets.
And if it continues with how it started, then this could be crazy. The 52 goes way wide in the second turn of 1 and 2. And the 64 of Christmas is going to be in the lead for about half a lap. As here comes Chase McClure in number 50 and April, and you cannot stop him. He's done really good this season, but he's really done on these super speedways. I believe he won at Daytona. He got a top 5 at Talladega, and now in another new ride. Alexander in number 81 this week is up front here at Armory Digital, 98 of Trey Wimbledon, side by side at the line. It's gonna be, I think, the 50s. Yes, it was the 50 that barely. And before wide once again, crazy start so far.
Yeah, these guys, and that transition, I just saw it there. That transition from the little banked straight short shoot to the corner, it gets these guys a little squiggly. You know, I saw a good handful of cars get a little loose right there, so you got to watch out for that. Handling could come into play the longer this goes green as well. Here comes my 2 cars working together. That's good to see. Hopefully they can keep that up. But now here comes the number 3 of Dylan Ebrahimian, now possibly going for the lead. But as I say that, the 0-2 moves Ebrahimian up the track. Chase McClure still leading out front, trying to control all 3 lanes.
And that would be very impressive if he can do that. He has 3-4s right behind him. He's going to try and get to the bottom. But like you said, those 2 teammates are working together. They love what they are doing, but that's very smart. Have teammates work together, but here comes 90. He's going to try and stop that from happening. Matthew Hall won a couple of races ago and got win number 2 on the season, I believe. And look how those triad cars working together very nicely, committed to each other. And you mentioned Dylan Ebrahimian started dead last, and in 7 laps was able to be up towards the front at least for a moment. So that was fairly tight right there. Speaking of the 3 cars, we cannot catch a break here at Armory Digital, can we?
Yeah, that was real close. I thought, I mean, we still might have some contact here between Ebrahimian and Sulspin. They are all over each other like a cheap suit, and they're gonna hopefully settle that back down. I mean, they are mad at each other for some reason, but Anyway, that 90 of Matthew Hall still out front. Here comes that 69 of Matt Black now. And as soon as I say that, Garrett Zendowska in the 13
Oh
is now going to
boy.
go up front. And we are 4 wide, maybe almost 5 wide now. That 88 of Sammy Kamara getting shoved up, but somehow the 98 gets out of that.
All the way back in 2012, we were almost 4 wide throughout the entire field for a brief second. They have fanned it back down to the 3 wide, basically all at the same time. Finny shows me to move on the inside lane now. The 90 did lead another lap. Matthew Hall has 2 inches trying to get a third. Finny shows to the lead, and we went from basically 4 wide everywhere to now 3 wide everywhere. Jay Whippleton is up here in the 98 machine, the 88. And one thing I will mention, the 88 and the 64 Ludovic's team is the only team that's not won yet this season. We'll see if that can end here today and have 12 different teams win in 14 races here tonight.
That would be really impressive if this Ludovic Charette team can get it done. And obviously, I'm sure Ludovic would love for that to happen. You know, it would not be good to be one of the few teams to not win this season. And has a good chance right now. I mean, obviously the 88's out front, but we're on lap 11, and that was real close. That transition, man, that transition gets these cars a little bit out of whack, and that's what happened to that 81 of Rowe, but able to gather that back up. Marsh looking 4 wide, not quite, and Corey Case is still leading the way.
I think you touched on it. I think the handling might be coming into a little bit of a factor, and I think these tires are falling off a little bit. 4 wide again, but definitely a lot more squirrely as this race is going on, and we're only halfway through here in this one. The 93 is going to be in the midst for the race lead. They are 4 wide in the middle of the field. No 4 wide everywhere. This track is something to behold. Fantastic stuff here. But the 93 here tonight of James Budd, one of the few starts he's made, that's almost 4 wide and almost 5 wide.
I think they are 5 wide.
They are 5 wide. They're thinking about it. Finny Show's gonna draw back. That was almost bad. And we're 4 wide, multiple rows deep once again.
Whew. We about to had a big wreck down the backstretch, but these drivers able to settle it back down. And we continue to roll on here, heading on to lap number 13. Here comes Alexis Selspin, my pick. Now up front, we'll see how this 56 can do.
Is it bad that we're only 12 laps in, Travis? This has felt like a 24 lap race smushed into 12. This is very anxiety filling. I can't say that. I was gonna say I'm glad I'm not a owner, but I am. So, this is very intense stuff. But here comes still that Bohemian. Gonna go from 21st to try to lead a lap this time, but he's gonna no help until he turns 3 and 4. And at this rate, we still have 11 laps to go, but I'd be shocked if we make it without having a wet.
Yeah, and these guys are getting crazy once again. We're starting to get 3 and 4 wide, multiple rows deep. You know, it's kind of like breathing. You know, we see these guys all bunch up and they get 3 and 4 wide, and then they kind of back off and we're like, okay, we're going too crazy, and then everything kind of settles back down, and then we also get crazy again. And right now we're at that point where it's getting crazy. So these guys just trying to pace themselves, not wreck too early, and obviously give themselves a chance to win when it comes down to crunch time.
And that's exactly what they are doing. The 2 wide up front, 4 wide in the middle of the field. The 13 of Sendoska made it 4 wide on unable there. And oh my goodness, I'm scared. This is much more intense than what Talladega was, and I thought that was intense, but look at Unable and then Bohemian. The 13 of Sendoska is going to go 4 wide for second, and he's going to go for the race lead now. Here comes the 87 of Joshua Neely up in the midst, and we've seen almost everybody here tonight at Armory Digital, and I feel like with 10 laps to go, this is a perfect time to remind everyone that the top 10 finishes end up being eligible for the Dash for Cash if they sign up for Oregon tomorrow night for next week. So that is also very important. With 9 laps to go here in this one.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sure the top 10 is going to be heavily motivated to sign up as well, because, who doesn't like some cash?
Absolutely, especially if we're in an offline race, but who definitely does not want to see a wreck, and that's some of these guys in the middle of 4 wide, as the nice sits of Allie Anderson Jr. on the double blue line. Not used to saying that, but here we are. Jason McClure out front. In the number 50, BP Ruiz is ahead of Alexander Rose in a 4 wide sandwich in the middle of the field. And he's getting roughed and toughed by one of my drivers, the 97, and actually both of them right there with the 98 as well. Hallie Anderson Jr. trying to get win number 1 on the season. Been very consistent, 8 top 10s, but only 2 top 5s. Trying to get win number 1 here tonight in the 96.
Yep, and Hallie not able to quite lead that lap. That was, I believe, the 50 if Chase McClure able to barely sneak that one out. And now here comes, is that the 82 of Carson Miller? Haven't seen the 82 up here that much. Same with the 37 of Aaron
Oh
Abel.
no!
And oh man,
BP
I
Ruiz
think,
just got into the outside wall.
yep, man, that has stacked up that middle lane and especially that outside lane. And unfortunately, my driver is going to get held up a little bit from that, but everyone should be able to get back going and not lose any draft.
And I think the Tyler might be playing into effect. Don't really know how much Tyler, but we're laying this one now. And that's the first time that we saw anyone go too high in turn 2 and got into the outside wall. But like everyone is going to be able to keep on going in this lead pat. Jay Whippleton running in the middle. Corey Case in the midst as well. And we'll see when that pat looks like everyone is good to be in the lead pat still. Hallie Anderson Jr. trying to stay out front, blocking the 98. Has to block the 99 here. And the 4 wide in the back part of the field. What a race this has been here tonight at Armory Digital Superspeedway. It's not been a complete cycle. There's been a few cars that have been able to stay out front at times. And we probably should have had a wreck or two. And we are still going 4 wide in the back part of the field. But we have, I believe, 6, maybe 7 laps to go here in the Armory Digital 250.
Corey Case is the race leader. Here comes the 87 of Joshua Neely now, possibly looking to the inside. And, like you said, it's a miracle that these guys haven't junked him yet. And so we've got close a couple times, especially with that 5 wide. I'm surprised we haven't seen 5 wide since. And now here comes that 90 of Matthew Hall trying to get back up to this lead. And I will say the 50 and the 90 of Appalachia Racing, Caleb Rose's team, they have easily, in my opinion, had the 2 best cars here today. It's either been the 90 up front leading laps, or it seems like the 50s up front leading laps.
Very true. I think Caleb got a pair of very good Super Speedway setup cars here tonight as the 4 wide, almost 5 wide again. This is getting very, very tight with Dylan Bohemian and the 97. And if Matthew Hall wins, that will be win number 3 on the season already, and be another possibly dominant driver. Maybe not on the level of Alexander Rowe, but Cameron Mudge needs a good one. 10th in the point standings. Has had a rough few races started at South Boston and Bristol, and it's just continued, and we're ready to bounce back with win number 2 possibly here tonight. 4 laps to go at the line this time by.
Marsh has no help, but will soon have help from 2 Fords. That is, well, as I say that, the 05 of Brady Anderson ditched the 52 of Dylan Stan Deven and will not help Camel Marsh. And now 90 still out front trying to control the lines, and these guys have kind of solid back down now as we are just 3 wide, no 4 wide as of right now, but I'm sure that'll change as we get a couple more laps into this race and we start heading towards that ever translucent final lap.
And here we go. It's definitely calmed down a little bit. I think we got some of the best cars all night up front. The 90, the 39, even the 05. We've seen a lot. Here comes the 02. Both of the cars are in the midst. Matt Black, he's in the midst. He's trying to get his second win on the season, and this would be big for him.
Oh boy.
He's still in points. The other two are deep in the both deep in the field. They're getting very tight in the back part of the field. And now the 9 Corey Case is into the outside wall. But everyone's gonna get past him, and we're gonna be good. 3 laps to go at Armory Digital.
I think my two drivers are making their move too early, and that's unfortunate for the 99 of Corey Case. I think he might even lose the draft from that. So
Think so too.
uh, that's very unfortunate. That might take him out of contention for this win and for the Dash for Cash. And now 96 of Hallie Anderson going to go out to the front. Here comes the 64 of Chris Reynolds and also Garrett Zendowska back up front again. And well, I said Appalachian Motorsports, and I see on that bottom lane that 50 of Chase McClure starting to work his way up to the front. I think he might be in prime position as well as this field starts to cycle.
Here we go, 2 laps to go in the Armory Digital 250. Oh my goodness, one move from Cell Spin, unless it's Cell Spin from... Oh my, blast into the
Oh, where's
outside
the
wall.
wall?
And we are good. The 99's going to lose his draft. That's going to be very tight in the back part of the field. And I think it's exactly what we kind of saw earlier. These tires are running out and these guys are getting into that sidewall more. Hallie Anderson Jr. trying to get win number 1 on the season. Chris Reynolds trying to get, I believe, win number 1 as well. All these drivers trying to get the first win. And here comes the 88. The 88 of Sammy Camaro trying to get the last team without a win. A race win. Final lap at Armory Digital.
Who is going to take it? Hallie Anderson Jr. And oh, watch out. We got the two Andrews racing cars right there, the 56 and 57. And that might be, if that comes down to teamwork, it could happen for Andrews Racing. And also, you got two Fords up top. As I say that, Andrews Racing ditches each other. Here comes BB Ruiz, but I don't. He has no help, and that's not gonna help BB Ruiz. Hallie Anderson has no help, and I think the Fords got it up top.
It might be the 4s, the 02 and the 64 down the front stretch for the final time. It's going to be Chris Reynolds versus Hallie Anderson Jr. Alexander Moses, I know is going to get top 5 late, but Chris Reynolds, he's going to do it for the Dovet Charrette's team. That is 12 different teams to win in 14 races. And Chris Reynolds wins the Armory Digital 250.
How about that for Ludovic Charette? Now, that is insane. Every team has won in the Herr Sprint Series, and I'm sure Ludovic is glad that they finally got that win, and they can breathe a sigh of relief. And how about that? What a race. The Fords worked together up top, and while the Hondas were too busy fighting down on the bottom trying to get by the Toyota of Hallie Anderson, that allowed Chris Reynolds to get out front and clear.
Whew. After 24 intense laps, trials, we can finally catch our breath. What a chaotic 24 lap sprint right there. And that's why we call it the Sprint Series, because we've seen so many races this year come down to the final lap of these sprint races, and that is insane of what I said right there. 12 teams. Every team has won in only 14 races. That's insane. Great job from Chris Reynolds. He got one on the outside at the 12 and that is why Armory Digital is different than Daytona. We have the start finish line like Talladega close to turn 1, and if it was at the 12, it would have been a side-by-side battle, but because of it was down towards turn 1, it was easily the win for Chris Reynolds. What a race here tonight at Armory Digital Superspeedway. Chris Reynolds with the win by only 0.085. Nathan Aljaboye in second for the team. Hallie Anderson Jr. in third against Sendoska in fourth. BB Ruiz in the fifth position. Sammy Camaro in sixth. Alexander in seventh. Alexa Selspin in eighth. And Abel in ninth. And James Bird rounds out the top 10. And if they sign up next week, those will be the 10 that will try to be the highest 4 out of those drivers in the Dash for Cash. Teleplay for Matt Black and Corey Casey. They got stuck in the wall, and unfortunately, they didn't really recover, especially for Corey Case. But what a race! 24 laps, caution free. But what a race here at Armory Digital Superspeedway.
Absolutely. I like you said, I feel like Mikey Waltrip just hold my breath the entire time during a super speedway race. Especially during that 5 wide moment, and I'm surprised that these guys all kept it together. So big kudos to the Herr Sprint Series drivers, and definitely a fantastic race, and it was fun calling it here at Armory Digital.
Definitely, Seattle definitely gave us a show here tonight, and we're done with the Super Speedways. 2 in a row, and next week we are at a fictional track of Oregon, so we're not going to go too far. I believe that is basically a reskin to old Atlanta that Boone Wilmington made, I believe, or Trey White, one of the two. So we'll see what happens there. Another track I've never done before, same with Hillside. So if it's anything like tonight, then it might cook very well as well. So great win for Ladova and Chris Mills. And now we can officially say that every team has won in 12 races. In 14 races. That's insane. But thanks for Travis for joining me up here on the booth for this one. And congratulations to Chris Mills and everyone else inside the top 10. If you guys sign up tomorrow night for Oregon, then you'll be eligible for the Dash for Cash, and then the top 4 will make it to Hillside a couple of weeks from now. So that's it. That'll do it for us. For Travis Crampton, I'm Nathan Stason. Congratulations to Chris Reynolds on a fantastic win at Armory Digital Superspeedway.